Are you ready to learn to play songs on the piano just by listening to them? If so, this is the video for you. This is known as a term called playing by ear. Here's how playing by ear works. You listen to a song you like, whether it be on the radio or through other means, and you decide you want to replicate it. You do this without any music instructions or manuals in front of you, and you transfer what you hear from the song that you really like and turn it into music on the piano just by playing. Here's an example for you. This is a song called Oceans by Hillsong. Okay, that's the chorus of that. Another example is Someone Like You by Adele. Boom! By the end of this video, you'll have a blueprint to learn how you can play by ear to play songs like these and more. You'll be able to play along with family and friends, even if they sing horribly. You'll discover how I went from no piano experience as a child to being able to play music by ear as an adult. I'm going to condense all of these steps into one video. All right, let's begin. Step one is I learned the basics of piano. This is how to actually make music on the piano and how to make sound in an organized and non-chaotic way. This is something I went through with a piano teacher, but there are great ways to teach yourself this through adult piano learning books. Number two is I learned how to read and play sheet music for songs that already exist. So first, what is sheet music? Sheet music gives us musical instructions on how to play songs in their intended manner. And if you see sheet music or look it up, you may see that the music is indicated with symbols like these. And each of these symbols represents a note on the piano. Learning how to translate these symbols into music on the piano is going to allow you to practice hearing and seeing how music is structured and start acquiring the information you need to create your own. This is an important part of the process, and I would not be where I am today musically if I had not practiced songs that were created by other people using music. It doesn't require super advanced skills. Like, I can't sight read. I cannot sight read well. Sight reading is where you have sheet music in front of you and you can just basically read the sheet music as you go, like a book, and play music right away from it. It's kind of like a translator. Like if someone is speaking Spanish here, and then you've got a translator, the person is speaking Spanish, and then the translator is right away translating that from Spanish to English. That's what sight reading is. I have a long way to go to master that. But if I don't need to know how to sight read to be able to do this, you don't either. All right. And then number three is I listened to a lot of music. Music of different styles. Let's say that you're on the road to work, you connect your Bluetooth and you are listening to, I don't know, one of your favorite songs. And then you're like, oh my goodness, what if the song sounded like this instead of this? Or you may just have the urge to be able to play that on your own. This is why listening to music is so important. it gives you that inspiration, so you can take elements from like songs that you are listening to and later on be able to apply them when you start trying to translate that directly from your ear into the piano. Also, listening to music really does develop your musical instincts. The more music you listen to, the more patterns that you start to recognize in different songs that maybe in the same style or even in different styles, particularly in modern music. Like in pop, you'll hear like similar sections, like and similar structures within songs. So, for example, like a verse, which is kind of ramping up to the main part of the song, the chorus, and then the verse again, another verse, and then another chorus, and then maybe a bridge that's kind of tying everything together, a slightly different section of the song, and then finally a chorus that is the most ramped up chorus to kind of get everybody hyped up. Having that knowledge and that instinct and starting to develop that early on, even before you start trying to play the music by ear, that made things easier for me when I started experimenting on the piano, which we'll get to in a little bit. Number 4 is I started using chord charts to play my favorite songs. So chord charts are kind of like sheet music, but in the way where they give instructions on what to play on the piano, but they aren't as complicated. But with piano, all it is a combination. It's just giving you letter names, telling you what notes to play together on the piano, like a chord here, in order to play something that matches the tune of the original song. So let me give an example here. So if we want to go back to Someone Like You by Adele, a chord chart, if we had a chord chart or whatever, like we would have, never mind, I'll find someone like you. So that's basically, yeah. So like it'll show you what notes to play and when to play them in the song. For Someone Like You, I've played the song with a chord chart before this, but I don't remember the chord chart. But I do remember that the notes, the combination of the notes, was meant to sound that way. Chord charts are also important because they force you to learn new chords along the way and acquire new information as you go, as you play different songs. When I was working with chord charts, I was experimenting a little bit with how different notes sounded together, like maybe a C and an A. And I was only staying within certain boundaries of the piano. Like I would not touch the black keys if I didn't have to. But using chord charts will really force you to learn how to incorporate the black keys into your playing if you haven't done it yet. Because if you don't incorporate the black keys based on the chord chart you're using, the song is just not going to sound the way it needs to. So again, we're going to pull up the Someone Like You example. Now, I'll have to use an F sharp here, which is a black key. So if I were to just use all the white keys for the song, here's what it sounds like. Never mind, I'll find someone like you. Now, that does not sound right. It does not sound right in the context of the rest of the songs. So that's why using this black key, F sharp, is so important for this. Number 5, I performed songs. So I don't mean it's not like performing songs at this grand hall or whatever. it was just it was playing songs in front of other people. Now, this happened during recitals when I was in piano lessons. Like, I would have a spring recital and a winter recital. A recital was useful because it showed your progress throughout the semester. It showed how much you learned, how much you practiced, depending on how you learned the song or whatever. And performing at the recital built that skill of practicing a song until you're satisfied with how it would sound if you played it in front of other people, which is exactly what we did. Now, it's not, a lot of times it may not be perfect, but there's a certain joy in that. So if you have like social anxiety or anything like that, I got sweaty palms, but the more you do it, the better it'll be. And this doesn't have to be just with sheet music either, or be at a recital if you're with a piano teacher. You could do this at home. You can have mini concerts with your family, using the chord charts or using the songs you've learned with the chord charts, and just have a little mini concert. And if they want to sing along, even more fun. So there are many different ways to turn this into a performance, but the whole goal here is to get you comfortable with bigger stakes. So this will force you to really practice and get better at this to a point where you'd actually be okay with sharing it with other people. And that'll skyrocket your progress like nothing else. I don't know what the science is behind it, but that has really worked for me. Okay. And then number 6, experimenting. So after I got comfortable with chord charts and playing pre-made music, I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I was experimenting a little bit with how different notes sounded outside of the sheet music or outside of the chord charts. So let's say, like, maybe I was maybe even during practicing certain songs, like I'd be like, okay, this is what it's supposed to sound like, as an example. Now, what if I did something like this, where I changed the E that I'm playing in my left hand to a B on one of the chords? So let's see. Oops. Or I changed the bottom notes of each of these, which I had no clue there was an see, at this point, this is important as a quick aside, I don't know a lot of what this means because I stopped piano lessons a little before this point. I reached this point in my journey. So as I was playing these things, I'm doing these, what I think are cool things, like here, and I had no clue they had a name for them. So I was just like, oh, I'm gonna play this F sharp with a D major chord, which is a D, F sharp, and A played together. And yes, there is a term for that. It's a D major over F sharp, but don't worry about that right now. The point is, you don't need to know what everything is called technically. Like, but I don't know what everything is called technically. I don't even know what a lot of the chords I play are, but I just know they sound good together. So yes, as a quick, that's the end of my aside. Anyway, I think we're on number 7. So this is the point where I started officially playing by ear. With all of this information and knowledge I've acquired from piano lessons, playing sheet music, playing with chord charts, and experimenting, I was ready to start playing some of my favorite songs just from hearing them. Now, I'll do a more in-depth video on this later, since this is just the overall blueprint of it. But playing by ear, all it is when you're trying to learn how to do it is experimentation, and then a bell goes off whenever you hit the right note. Okay, we'll do oceans because we've already established oceans as something that we're doing in this video. Okay, so I already know that the chords are E minor, C, G, yes, G major, and then D major, yes. It still takes me a minute to turn it from a music thing to actually saying it out loud, which is actually a really good thing because that means I'm not totally translating. Like when you're learning a language, when I'm learning a language, I've been trying to learn Spanish for like 12 years. When I'm trying to communicate or I'm trying to listen to a Spanish speaker, I'm going through the process of trying to convert the Spanish into English in my head before I can talk back by retranslating that English that's in my head back into Spanish and then spitting it out in words. That's why things go so that's why talking is so difficult for me, because I have not reached that level. And I also have not been practicing consistently. It's really an off and on thing. But anyway, that's kind of what experimenting with music, experimenting with piano will do for you. You won't have to translate it into actual words before you play it. You just know. And that's how music is really a language within itself. Okay, that was my other side. So we were gonna do oceans. So let's say I have a chord here. Now, when starting to play by ear, like I would recommend maybe starting off with a chord chart, just to kind of transition yourself in there and into the process, and then eventually take away the chord chart for maybe a different song and see, hey, let me think about the chords I know and how they sound in relation to each other. This is something you'll build throughout the experimentation phase and the chord chart phase, and see if I can make my own chords for it. Now, the chords don't have to be perfect, but they're going to, they as long as they really sound good with the song, the song and the main tune, in other words, the melody, then I consider that a win. Because sometimes you just want to change the chords of a song to make it sound a little better. I've been there. I do that a lot. And the more you do it and the more you practice, the better you'll get and the more your possibilities expand. Okay. Again, I went off track there. But let's say we've got oceans and I want to play the melody for it. So we first got an E minor chord here. And like it'll probably take you a couple times to figure it out, and you might have to sing along to start. Like you called, wow, that was scratchy. Anyway, you called me out upon, and that'll be a D. The waters, and I'm moving like you know what? Scratch that. Forget the left hand for a second, because we already know how to play chords with the left hand if we're using chord charts with that. Our big problem is if you want to play the actual melody of it, which is 9 times out of 10 played with the right hand, then just do the right hand by itself. So like, so find the main note, and you might have to, just find the main note. That's the first note here, which is an E. See that C, this does not match up with what comes next in the song. You called me out upon the waters. So instead, I'm gonna try to see what note is supposed to be there. And instead of that C, it's not the B, it's actually the D. So then I'm going to start over and play that all together. Oops. That's supposed to be an E, not a D. Boom. Cool. So that's really the process. You're going to just be pecking at the piano for a little bit until you find the right note. And once you find the right note, it's going to be like a bell hitting in your brain. Like, oh, this works. Let's move on to the next one. So, yes. And so you'll be able to copy and paste what you've learned in one song and what you can play in one song into a different song. So the knowledge builds upon each other and everything is connected. So whatever you do, it's going to be productive. That is your blueprint to go from no piano experience to actually becoming a boss at playing any song that you hear with an asterisk. For more information or exclusive content, go ahead and join the Creative Music Maker Circle. I put the link down in the description. We're already at 20 members, so thank you guys so much. And it's an exclusive community, and all you got to do is pay with your attention when you join. So we just want you to make progress within it. So just make sure to join that down below.